It's time, as they say, to get this particular show on the road. Make sure you are in the classic workspace, all right? I just like that because then we're all in the same workspace, so we're kind of all on the same page. No big deal. But make sure you're there. Go into the Files panel. We are in the SNL site that we just previously set up. Open up the Pages folder right there, and double-click and open up Snippet. This one right here, not Snippet 2, just Snippet. You say, well, what exactly is a snippet? Well, first of all, if you've ever met one, you'd never forget the experience. They are very snippy. I'm still in therapy about the whole thing. They're pieces of code. That's all they are. Pieces of code that we want to use. So think of it this way. What am I doing on my websites that I'm doing over and over again on every page, and I'm just kind of rewriting and reinventing the wheel every time I do that? You say, well, Andy, isn't that a library item? There are some fundamental differences and similarities between libraries and snippets. One of the biggest differences is that a library item is connected to that particular site. The library is part of that site. Snippets don't have that restriction. When you put a piece of code together as a snippet, it's always in the snippets panel, which is, incidentally, right over here. Let me go ahead and drag this out for us. All the snippets that we work in are in this panel, and every time we open up a site, they will be there. So that's another big difference. They don't work well, obviously, with images, because if you tried to drag an image over, you'd probably break the link when you moved it from site to site. So it's typically for code. Now, I've got a couple of examples I want to show you. First off, a copyright symbol would be something that you would probably use over and over again. So we're going to save it actually two different ways. Let's start by coming over here and creating a new folder for our stuff. Now, this stuff here comes from Dreamweaver. Footers and form elements and all kinds of stuff. This one right here is kind of cool. It's called breadcrumbs, and we've all seen those, where you go from page to page and it kind of keeps a trail of where you went. We're making our own in this lesson. So what we need is a new folder. We'll go ahead and click right here and give that folder a name like Stuff. How many out there have folders named Stuff and More Stuff and a lot more stuff? Our Stuff folder is for our snippets. All right, so we're going to leave that selected right there. To make a snippet, first select the code that you want to save. Now, we don't have to go into the code view to do that. That's cool. All we have to do is select it down here. So we're going to start by doing this. Select Help Save the Snippets. Now we're going to put that into the Stuff folder right there. Click the New button here. Let's give it a name like Raw Text. Understand something about the name. The name is part of the code, so you want to, well, I'll tell you what, just forget all those fancy characters. Use text, use numbers, and an underscore if you need it, and forget everything else. Description can be anything you want it to, that's optional. Do you want this snippet to wrap a selection, or do you want to insert it as a block? I think we're going to just insert it as a block. Now, if you do wrap it, then you'll have to describe down here what you inserted after. We're going to say insert as a block. And you want to preview it as a design or the code. Let's go ahead and preview it as a design. Click OK. Here's our first one, raw text. But we're going to do one more. This one I can insert anywhere because it's just text. But what if you like this div I put it into too? It's like a footer, got its own little things going on for it, and I like it. And I want to use that over and over again. But how do I make sure I get the whole thing? That's when you go back to your tag inspector. If I move my cursor into this area, I don't have to have anything selected. If I'm in that area, you will notice it's telling me where I am. I named that div footer. Watch what happens when I click this button. It guarantees I have everything selected. Don't forget the tag editor down there. It helps you select. We're going to make another snippet. Come over here, click the New button. And we'll call this one Copyright. And say with a div. Description, again, optional. We do want to insert this as a block. And we'll click OK. So as you can see, there's our two. Now they look the same up here. Don't worry about that. This one's got a div. This one doesn't. And that's the main difference. So that's how you make these things. In the next segment, we'll look at how we insert them.